when we were talking about reconstruction in the north, our friendly neighbor, India, was highlighted, and the support that was given by the government of India was highlighted as an important factor in our success. In this session, we are fortunate to have a representation from the Indian government in the form of Major General G.S. Shergill. He will be addressing this gathering and deliver his presentation on Indian assistance in reconstruction and resettlement in Sri Lanka. Major General Shergill is a serving Indian Army officer and currently the General Officer Commanding of a division. This General Officer, during his distinguished career, has done his mandatory tour of duty, which includes 5 tenures in conflict zones within the country as well as abroad. He is a graduate of the Defence Services Staff College, Wellington, and the Army War College. In 1989, he gained a master's degree in Defence Studies from the University of Madras, and in year 2000, a Master of Philosophy degree in the same subject. He has also attended prestigious courses at the School of Armored Warfare and the Infantry School. Commissioned into the infantry, the Major General has been an instructor at the Infantry School and at the prestigious Defence Services Staff College, Wellington. He commanded an infantry battalion, brigade, and sub-area in active operations and is presently commanding a division actively committed in low-intensity conflict operations. Incidentally, charter of his duties includes resettlement, reconciliation, and execution of projects for reconstruction. Well-traveled, he has also represented his country as a United Nations military observer to Central America and El Salvador, where he gained an insight into disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration of, or in other words, DDR. So he is well versed with all 5 R's. The General's wide experience makes him an ideal speaker today, and I'm sure we are all going to benefit from the wealth of experience and insights of General G.S. Shergill. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Respected Commander of the Sri Lankan Army, guests and fellow officers, ladies and gentlemen, I am indeed grateful to the Sri Lankan Army and the Government of Sri Lanka to have given us a slot in this all-important seminar for which the deliberations have been going on. Just before I start my presentation, I would like to bring out that any reconstruction, rehabilitation, and reconciliation effort is never same for a particular country or all over the countries in the world. It was brought out by various speakers today that we cannot template a particular kind of assistance or reconciliation. Therefore, it all depends on the host country or the country which is totally involved in their effort to make sure that the people of their country are integrated as per their design in consultation with each other. That is what the Sri Lankan government has done, and all others are peripheral actors. we are there to support their effort. The other countries should support their effort in consultation with them. With this, I want to bring out a small quote here. It may appear to be irrelevant today because it was made about 70 years back by father of my nation, Mahatma Gandhi. And he said it about Sri Lanka, or Ceylon as that time it was called. But then when I dwelt on it, I realized that quote is still relevant to any country of the world, be it country A, B or C, without naming any country, I would say. Just have a look at it. He says, it is, at least it should be, impossible for India and Ceylon to quarrel. We are the nearest neighbors. We are inheritors of a common culture. But even as blood brothers sometimes differ, so do next door neighbors. And like brothers, they usually adjust their differences and are often more closely knit together after the clearance. Now, if you replace the word India and Ceylon to people of different ethnicity, or if I may be permitted to say, the people of ethnicities in Sri Lanka, then all others are the same. Personnel of Sri Lanka are blood brothers. If they have differed at some time, as he says, as the next door neighbors, like brothers, I'm sure they would adjust their differences and work for the reconciliation, which is the aim of this seminar. The father of nation made this did the statement, as I said, about 70 years back, but it is still relevant. Even today, perhaps, it is more relevant with Sri Lanka striding toward a brighter tomorrow, post the historic clearance or end of the conflict, which affected past of Sri Lanka for over a quarter of a century. India is Sri Lanka's closest neighbor. Relations between the two countries have matured and diversified with the passage of time encompassing all areas of contemporary relevance. The shared cultural heritage of the two countries and extensive people-to-people interaction provide the foundation to build a multifaceted partnership. During recent years, this relationship has been marked and strengthened by interactions at the close contact at the highest political level, growing trade and investment, cooperation in the field of development, education, culture, defense, as well as broad understanding on major issues of international interest. Large part of South Asia have made great progress economically, socially, and politically over the last few decades. Yet, there are a number of challenges that continue to beset the region that hold back the true potential of our countries, individually as well as collectively as South Asia. These include terrorism, extremism, and religious fundamentalism, to name a few, and use of these as instruments of state policy, I regret to say, by some of the countries. However, India and Sri Lanka have shown the capacity and the will to rise above these constraints. The end of conflict in Sri Lanka has brought about a great possibility for peace and stability in Sri Lanka and its neighborhood, and build a better future for all our people. This has also opened up greater options for Sri Lanka and India to cooperate and enlarge our areas of engagement. India had strongly supported the right of the government of Sri Lanka to act against LTTE. At the same time, there was genuine concern for the welfare of the civilian population, with nearly 300,000 civilian housing camps for the internally displaced persons. It must be understood that each conflict is unique, as I said earlier, due to the nature of grievances and methodology of overcoming the conflict. It may be an interstate or intrastate conflict, It may have been overcome by UN peacekeeping missions or efforts, or by international forces as we have seen in our neighborhood, or by the security forces of the concerned state as it happened in the case of Sri Lanka. But legacies of these conflicts stays more or less the same and includes widespread population displacement, damaged infrastructure, reduced productive capacity, devastated revenue base, and erosion of human and social capital, greatly reduced security, and an increased proportion of the people needing social assistance, to name a few. Collectively, these legacies place a very heavy burden on post-conflict societies. The challenge is to correctly analyze and undertake suitable measures to overcome it, which I am glad to notice, for whatever it is worth it, a small man to say these things, the Sri Lanka government has done exceedingly well to sort out these problems in a very, very short span of time. Post-conflict focus areas. Much has been said about these focus areas, but the cost of repetition I would like to bring out that to achieve a broad-based recovery from the conflict, countries have to face a daunting range of tasks and need to focus on security, as was correctly identified. Unless there is security, no other effort can take place. Governance, which is the biggest sufferer during the conflict, it has to be put on rails again. Humanitarian and social welfare well-being, which is the first thing to be done, as is